Hey everybody, welcome to our webinar here this afternoon. All right, so we're just going to dive right into it. Great to be here with everyone. Today we're going to be talking about how to create an endless flood of free Google traffic to your website and attract your perfect customers in under 20 minutes a day. And as we get started here, just want to make sure you turn off all your distractions, close all your web browsers. We're going to be moving pretty quickly here. Uh, Today, really flying without a net. I'm just going to dive in and show you some things that you can use right away in your business to get more traffic. Things a couple weeks ago, I talked with a lot of the list, and I sent out a poll and basically just asked people, what are you struggling with? What are you having trouble with? And the types of things that people were saying, pretty much a 3 to 1, it was all related to traffic, and that's congruent with something we did a few months ago. Kind of asked the same question, pretty much 3 to 1 traffic. So traffic continues to be a stumper and something that people are struggling with. So thought that I would just do a very informal webinar, but just take you through some things that I know work very well to get you your Google traffic. Because Google traffic is awesome. Once it starts coming in, it just kind of keeps coming in. It's people who are already looking for you, and it's the type of traffic that you want. It's organic, right? And so make sure you have all of your distractions turned off. Get a piece of paper, take some notes, but pay attention. We're going to move pretty quickly here, and just kind of dive right into this. And so I always like to start with the most important equation, which is if you have a website that's converting, this is really the equation for you, and it's more traffic equals more sales. And when we're talking about Google traffic, it's the closest thing to free traffic that you can possibly get. And when you have stuff that's at the top of Google, when you are ranking #1 for something, it provides you with social proof. It provides you with this really important thing where people have you in mind or have a problem in mind, and then they search, and then you're coming up and you're already entering that conversation that's going on in their head. And so you're bringing people to you instead of you chasing them down. And a lot of people do this wrong. A couple of these things, just tossing money at AdWords, super expensive. I talked to a guy early on this year who he was just throwing away $1,500 to $2,000 a month at AdWords. He was getting a lot of traffic, but it was super, super expensive, and it was super, super it wasn't converting, so he was just throwing money away. Facebook ads can be really, really good for you if you do them right. I mean, AdWords can be done right too. Most people do all this stuff wrong though, and at the end of the day, it's one of these things where you want to know the lay of the land, and you want to get as many types of traffic as possible, and free traffic, or at least as close to free traffic, is very much profitable traffic. So what I was going to do here is very much in the moment, just take you through a few things that you can use right away in your business, and then give you some stuff that you can put in place. And so the first thing I want to show you here is some research I was doing, and one of the things that you're always wondering that a lot of people get hung up on is, how do I even build a marketing budget? And if you don't have a marketing budget, then maybe this is a clue as to maybe you should have a marketing budget. And companies go out of business all the time because they don't have a marketing budget. And so I did a little bit of research yesterday and found this article on Inc.com. And so there's your first clue. I'm going to Google. I have a question about something, and I find it. And so notice that I didn't click on the stuff that was in the AdWords area. So if we go back here for just a second, this is what your customers are doing. Most of the time they're not clicking here. We have trained ourselves to know that those are ads, and we have trained ourselves to know that this spot here on top is a lot more valuable than even, say, this spot here below the fold. Now, if you can get anywhere on this first page, you're going to be in really, really good shape. But we have trained ourselves to get to the top of, to click on what's on top of Google. That's what this training is about today, is get you up there. So I go here and I look up how to build your marketing budget. And it's pretty interesting because the first part of the article talks about a few things, and how established is your business. If nobody's heard of you, you probably want to spend more. Okay, that makes sense. What type of industry are you in? Okay, yeah, you should probably know like where you are with your competitors and stuff like that, and how that all works. And then how much can you really afford? So if your competitors spend a lot of money, then you might be in an environment where you need to spend a lot of money. Or if you don't have a lot of money, maybe you need to do like guerrilla marketing and stuff like that, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about what to do if you don't have any money. But the key here is to do a budget, right? And so it's funny though. Here's this guy, right? He's a marketing guy. He's like, you need to be spending up to 15% of all of your revenue on marketing, right? And so of course he's going to say that. He's a marketing guy, right? So and then they talk about these things like print, radio, and TV, yellow pages. Give me a frickin' break, people. The only things here that I could see a business that really cares about using those dollars wisely is this direct mail part right here. Trade show booths, you could build a list that way to do some direct mail. But the whole key here is to go where people are actually looking for you. So that's why, the yellow pages, come on. So we kind of come down here and people talk a little bit more about some of these things, right? And this is the key here. Marketing budget, track. And so measurable marketing, right? That is the real key. Well, here's another thing that I found in my research that I want to share with you as you're building out your marketing budget. So I always think that, no matter what you're doing, you always want to know what the benchmarks are and what the best practices are. So you see this guy here at the top is this. And this article is really good because now we're talking a little bit more objectively. And if you come down here, check this out. We've got a marketing budget as a percentage of revenue. Okay, so 1.1% of companies have no budget. Then people, almost a third of companies here do 0 to 2% or 3 to 5%. So all of a sudden, you're already at about 60% of all companies. Okay, cool. There's 80% are in those percentiles, and then look. Here's the top 20% is spending, anywhere here in this percentage. So interesting here, right? 80-20 rule. There's 80% of the companies who spend up to 10% of their budget, and then 20% of the companies spend over 10% of their budget. So that tells me that what I've always kind of heard, which is to use 10% as a good rule of thumb. So take whatever your revenue is and reinvest at least 10% into your marketing. That tends to be a good rule of thumb. And so importantly though, I really like that they also had a sales budget. And if you come to my website, wallythewebguy.com, one of the things that you will see when you come here is that I don't really talk too much about marketing per se. I talk about increasing sales and profits. And that's really by design. And the reason that's by design is because sales is really where the action's at. If you don't have good top line sales, you don't have any profits to speak of. And so that is why when you come here, you'll always see this type of focus, which is sales and profits, because really, if you want to build a business, you need sales and profits. And so that's what I wanted to talk to you about today a little bit is, sort of the lay of the land, because I see people making that first mistake, which is they don't even have a marketing budget. And just not to scare you away with that word budget, you got to think in terms of time and space and all resources. So budget is a resource as far as it's a time budget, and budget is also a resource as much as like how much of my sales am I reinvesting in. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. So what do you have here though? So, when I look at things, I always come back to the master key formula, which is you have a traffic stack, you're sending qualified leads to relationship enhancers, or you're qualifying them even further through a prospect siphon and making them jump through some hoops, to get onto this presentation, you may have had to jump through some hoops, right? You had to take an action, show some interest, and be here with me. Then we follow up with a trust-building automated follow-up sequence. We take people to irresistible offers, and we flow people up to a profit maximizer. And if we do all these things correctly, if we're selling people stuff that they want, and we're doing it in a way that we take care of them and we fulfill those needs, it becomes a glorious loop because the traffic stack becomes referrals. It becomes people who are really happy with us. Those people drive the relationship enhancers and then refer more people, and it just becomes a big loop. And so what we're talking about here today is getting those people who are basically pre-qualified or at least have raised their hand and taken that first step towards you in the traffic stack and come into the relationship enhancer. So maybe they land on your website and they get to know you a little bit more. Then they come over into the prospect siphon, they get on your email list, so on and so forth. And how this is done is through things called search engine optimization and things called content marketing, right? And if you do it correctly, if you do content marketing and search engine optimization, the thing is that they're the same thing. Now there's a problem though, and that is that SEO is technical. And so SEO is technical, just like this, right? And so that'll drive a person crazy sometimes. And then content marketing though is, what is content marketing? Good content. Okay. So you want to show people stuff that actually matters to them. So if you can combine these two things though, what you actually have is you will leapfrog in front of your competition because you will become a thought leader. So if you're in plumbing, chiropractic, consulting, web design, IT, accounting, wherever you are, you want to become a thought leader, and you want to avoid mistake number one, which is not looking at the basics. And so the first thing I wanted to show you today, which is just actionable and something that I want you to pay attention to, is that there are easy ways to make sure that you are search engine optimized. And the first one is to, once again, go to Google and type in, sorry about that. Told you I'm going without a net here today, so if I goof up or if, who knows what happens, I'll just apologize right away, but we're just in the moment here, people. So this is as if we were really sitting here together. So Google Webmaster Starter Guide. This is what you want to look for, and it's awesome because people make SEO out to be like this whole big giant monster. It's not. Just read the manual, right? So what you do is you Google that, and then you find this thing, and this is the Google Search Engine Optimization Starter Guide. And here's what you're going to see as you go through this thing. Of course, welcome, here's what it's all about. And it's just going to say, here's the basics of SEO, here's what you need to do this. And if you walk through here, it's actually very nice. It's, you want to create unique, accurate page titles. Well, that's the same thing as creating unique, accurate content, like we talked about. You want to use the description meta tag. Okay, that's filling out a form that exists on your website if you have it set up properly. You want to improve your site structure. So you want to make sure that you have a good sitemap and that everything flows like a human being would be able to find stuff. You improve the structure of your URLs. So that means that if you're typing in something that the URL says, Wally the Web Guy / search engine optimization, so it's easy to understand, instead of wallythewebguy.com / equals PHP ID 2578 ? Or something. So what Google's really doing here is just giving us the lay of the land and telling us how to do this. And so it continues on. It talks about offering, quality content and services. And so I think that's important. Like, they're going to ban you if you're offering junk. And why would you want to offer junk? It's just as much work and effort to offer good stuff to the marketplace as it is to offer junk. So why not just take the high road? Write better anchor text. So what that means is, instead of having a big anchor text that says click here, you say, click here to learn about, and then put a description of something there. That if you help Google by following their directions, they will help you. And then it talks a little bit more about optimizing images, using heading tags and how to do that appropriately, dealing with crawlers as far as some of the technical aspects of the robots.txt, which says, here, don't look here. So you're basically saying, hey, Google, let me not waste your time and resources. And on the other hand, they have a sitemap, which shows you where things are. Do look here, please, and so on and so forth. So um, let's kind of just dive in here. And I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time. Again, this is going to be a pretty quick little webinar, but look at this. So a title tag shows up in Google, as you can see, as this big blue area. So when we were looking earlier, when we looked at, let's see, what was it? It was sales and marketing budgets and best practices. So when I look that up like this right here that I click on is actually the title tag on the website itself. And so Google says what you ought to do is make sure that you indicate the page titles accurately by doing the title tag properly. And at this point, you might be like, Wally, I don't even do HTML. Don't worry, I'll address that in a minute. So then the next thing you want to do is work on your description tag. And so that's what this is here. This is your best practice. And none of this is gamesmanship. I get a little tired with everybody talking about like SEO as if it's this big game. There are rules. Google puts out the rules. Follow the rules. You're in good shape. It's really that simple. So step one, where are the rules? How do you find them? That's what we're going through, right? So use brief but descriptive titles. All right, cool. So you come in here, and that's the next part. And so again, when you start looking at this stuff, if they don't have a description, then it's just going to grab like whatever the first 2 or 3 paragraphs are on their website. But if they do have a description, then that's what will show up right there. So it's good to have a description, especially because you can really talk about what that entire page is about. So the description is about whatever's on the page. The next thing you do, you summarize it, of course, in the description. And then this is the part I was talking about with the simple URLs. So you see how like this had Brandon's baseball cards there. I don't know if you can see that, but it's like /folder1 /XO105, as opposed to brandonsbaseballcards.com /cards, right? So you want to use your words. Basically, you want a descriptive URL up top when you do this stuff. Now, making your site easier to navigate, this is really, I've been a bit advocate since the beginning. I mean, since the 90s when I was building websites, and it is help people find stuff in 3 clicks or less. And so, Google loves that stuff. They even love breadcrumb trails. If you have this gigantic website, breadcrumb trails, you see them like this, and those have really gone away lately. As far as like design and stuff, and I think it's more of a design thing because Google still really likes that stuff, or else they wouldn't put it in their how-to. Now the next thing is to do a sitemap, and sitemap.xml is different than an HTML format. And the long story short is that you either have to have somebody create it for you by hand if you have a static HTML website, or you have to know how to get it automatically created for you. And I'll show you a little bit about that in a minute. So now you've kind of taken care of some of the stuff, and now as far as like, so far, everything that I've showed you so far is like a no-brainer. And literally, if you haven't taken care of this stuff, go download this thing after our webinar, and you'll be better off. So you go through this thing, and the next thing is that Google says is use text for navigation. So that's this right here. You're describing a custom 404 page, so make the hyperlink say that. And the idea here is that you're building this for human beings, not for robots. And this is where we start to get into, we're moving from the technical side of things, where SEO used to be purely technical, now into content marketing, as it's called. And so this is what Google says: interesting sites will increase their recognition on their own. I sometimes beg to differ with that, actually, but in general, it's true. So you don't want to game the system necessarily, but you do want to get known and get found. And we'll talk about that as we go through today. But how getting a following on social media can help your website. Getting amplified by other people's email lists can help your website. And the idea is to kind of go viral. And so you do that by having really great content. And really great content really doesn't necessarily mean like you had to get an A in English in school or anything. It means create unique, fresh content and stuff that's relevant to people. So this right here that we're doing right now, this will become a YouTube video at some point. This is content that I've created for you because you asked for it and I'm helping you, and it's not created for the search engines. What will happen is that it will get picked up by the search engines naturally because it's good content and it's useful. And so that's what you want to do in whatever your niche is. So if you're selling like, beans to somebody, then, make content about beans and how they can make better soup with them, stuff like that. So now what you see here is write better anchor text. That's more of what we're talking about, describe stuff, and this right here talks about optimizing different things as far as your anchor text, optimize your images. So that way, if you have an image, name the image something that's useful. Don't name it just like one.jpg. Put it in its own images folder. Name it baseball card.jpg or whatever. And in the tag, when you insert it into your post or when you put it into your website, make sure that the image has a title attached to it, and that's called an alt tag. What that will help you do is if you go and do an image search, so you go to Google, right? And here I am using Google again. We're going to use Google a lot today because this is a training about Google. And I type in baseball cards, just like they're saying. Everybody here has really like labeled their baseball cards pretty well. And the ones that show up top, and then, as you go in, it's not as good. Well, what if I'm looking for like, a Barry Bonds baseball card? Then it's going to get more specific, right? There's Barry Bonds. So there's like the old one when he was skinny before all the steroids and stuff like that, and that's what a lot of them are showing up as. The reason is because those are probably worth something, and somebody went through and optimized them. So they just did what Google's saying, best practices. All right, so come down through here, use heading tags appropriately, same kind of thing. So, imagine you're writing an outline. A lot of this stuff is like, people make this big deal out of nothing when you just need to follow best practices. Like if you're writing a good essay, you start with an outline, and then those, eventually your headings become the headings in your essay. So just do the same thing on your website. Now, here's where it gets a little bit techy, and don't freak out or anything, but robots.txt. Okay, what is a robots.txt? Well, that is a file that says do not, do not follow these folders. Basically, the Googlebot comes to a website and just crawls everywhere. If the robots.txt says don't go here, then it just doesn't go there. And Google appreciates that, and it's just one little thing that they measure on your website, because they know that if you know to put a robots.txt there, even if it's not optimized, you want it optimized, but even if it's not optimized, you're going to do a little bit better than if it wasn't there, because you're showing respect for their resources. And beware of the relative no follow for links. These were used for a while here. You can even see that the example here was shadyseo.com. These were used for a while to do things like PageRank sculpting and all this crazy stuff, and it just doesn't work anymore. So, be aware of that, and just, don't do shady stuff, basically. Notify Google of mobile sites. So if you have two versions of your site, one's mobile, one's not, let them know. That's all in the code. So if you have a good Webmaster or a good plugin for WordPress, that'll all be taken care of. Guide mobile users accurately. This is all just kind of, part of the whole thing, like take care of your users. Promote your website in the right way. So again, this is what we're talking about. You want to stay in the light here. Don't do anything shady, right? So, promote via other people who are in your industry, guest blogging posts. They say that they're killing those, but those still work in terms of actually getting real people to your website. They just have to be done correctly. So that is, long story short, then you want to use their Webmaster tools. So again, mistake number one, not looking at the basics. So that's how you look at the basics, at least the first part of the basics. So mistake number 2 now, once you've gone through and kind of checked out the Google SEO starter guide, is to not use WordPress or a similar platform. And I don't even know what to tell you if you're not using WordPress at this stage of the game, because there's really, how do I put this? Most of the time, it's a tougher argument to say, here's why I don't want to use WordPress than it is to just use WordPress. WordPress is really, it's amazing, and right now it's really the best platform that there is. It's free in terms of downloading and installing the program itself. It's not free. There's no real free anything, right? But you come here to your to WordPress, and actually you just have to Google this. So let me show you real quick. What you do is you click on download WordPress like this, and this will come up. Oh, I went to wordpress.com, not .org, sorry. And basically this will tell you how to install it. Most web hosts, I recommend HostGator, will actually have a program inside of their hosting package that will install it for you in less than 5 minutes. And then once it's installed, well, another place, just so you know, you can also go to YouTube and type in this handy dandy how to install WordPress, just like that, right? Now, once you have it in place, so there's this step-by-step tutorial, right? Look at how many views that person has. So that's the kind of stuff that you want to create for your people. Now, once you have that inside, you want to have certain WordPress plugins installed, and that's what I want to show you here real quick, if I may. Let's see here, desktop. Take me a minute to find it. Try to be organized, but again, you're just kind of looking over the shoulder here. Now, people who are members of my programs or have worked with me, they actually have this. They have this how to install WordPress deal here, and so it's just documentation here. Kind of goes through everything, and really what you'll see here is a procedure. Here are the base plugins to install and configure. And so I really like All-in-One SEO Pack, Google Analytics for WordPress, Google XML Sitemaps, KB Robots Text. And just with these right here, if you think about it, here's what I've done. All-in-One SEO Pack is for all of those on-page thing. Oops, sorry. Just trying to zoom in so you can see that a little bit better. All-in-One SEO Pack, what that is all about is allows you to do fill in the blanks. So you can do your headline, or not headlines, title tags, descriptions, and all that stuff that Google's asking for as far as optimizing the post itself. And then Google Analytics for WordPress, you tie it into your Google Analytics account, and then you can track and see people coming to your website and how your traffic's doing. Google XML Sitemaps, that spits out a Google-friendly XML Sitemaps as whenever you update your website, Google is notified, and you're following their best practice that I just showed you of having an XML sitemap. And again, that's just, hey, Google, here's what's on my site. And then KB Robots Text takes care of the other one, the robots.txt. So if all you do is these three right here, what you've done essentially is taken care of a good portion of that technical burden that we talked about in the Google Webmaster SEO guide. Then there's a whole bunch of other stuff here, but those are the ones that you really probably have to care about the most. You can put in a bunch of ping stuff. We like to do that. Other useful plugins. There's all sorts of stuff. So you can see that if you want to go to town with WordPress, you can. And again, this is kind of just our way of doing things. There's the step-by-step, and there's a lot you can do. What I like to do is actually have this base plugins folder here. We actually have this list, which is pretty much the same list I just showed you. The other thing you do want to do, though, is go into WordPress and set up your permalinks. And so that just means that the settings look like whatever that thing's called, squiggly percentage sign, post name percentage sign, and if you do the permalinks and then these things right here and start putting good content on there, you've already essentially done the majority of the work technically that Google asks for. So right out of the gate. So if you're not doing those, do those, or Google will not be as happy with you as they could be. We like to actually have this thing here. We have a plugins folder, and you'll see a few other things in here, and they each have their own purpose, which we could talk about in a different presentation. But long story short, this just allows us to go boom. Okay, everything's up. Everything is onto the website, and we can start rocking and rolling. And so if you do those two things, if you read the guide and then follow those WordPress tips, you will avoid making those first two mistakes. So now people are like, okay, cool, we're looking a little bit better now. How do I create content? Well, just like anyone would, you start typing. No, so content, if you don't fancy yourself a content creator, the biggest one I can tell you is to tell stories. And, I started our presentation here today with how to tell stories. I told you a story about a few days ago when I sent out an email to the list, and I just asked everyone, like, hey, what are you doing right now? And, people are building email lists and they're struggling with that. Well, they're struggling with getting traffic. So here I am on probably the world's best search engine. People don't think of it this way, but it's Amazon. And so you'll see 21 ways. None of my stuff's coming up here yet. But if I put 21 ways to create, then there I am. And so what you'll see here is there's a Kindle edition of my book, and this is just one small part of my content strategy. And here I am on Kindle. Different versions of this book have existed, and what is in this book? Well, there's all sorts of stuff in the book, and a lot of this stuff is specific to the book. But versions of the stuff can also be found over here in the blog. And because these are stories, right? And so there are years and years worth of great content here. So as somebody gets to know you online, then eventually they're going to look at this, they're going to know, they're going to like, and they're going to trust that you are the person that they want to do business with, right? So you want to create content, tell stories, but make them relevant to your people. The biggest thing I can tell you about that too is to get on a schedule. And so, for instance, you'll see here, these are blog posts, right? And look, there's a video in between. So let me click on this. This is Wally's website walkthroughs, www. And so there's a blog post aspect to it, and there's a video aspect to it. Well, how do you create all this content? Well, get yourself on a schedule. So post a video one day, post a blog post the next day, recycle all that into an email to bring people back to it, and really it's just loops upon loops. And then maybe you use your social networks. You see all these social icons down here to, you could use really cool tool. Let me show you this. There we go. It's called IFTT, and I'm not going to go in depth into this, but what it is it's an automation software. And so if you put content in one place and you want to see it show up in other places, you can make that happen through that program. And so essentially, if you do all of these things, you've taken care of what Google wants, you've taken care of your technical burden on the website. You can just focus on creating kick-butt content. And so at this point, you're probably thinking, all right, well, cool. I'm ready to go. Life is good. I'm ready to create content, tell stories. Well, there is one more mistake that I see people making. And here's the deal. Coming back to the whole purpose, so who is this guy Wally? Why do I care? Wally the web guy, jokingly, is he's a character, right? But seriously, proven strategies for increasing sales and profits using the internet, right? We could do marketing all day long and that might not give us sales and profits. If we can't create sales and profits because of our marketing or because of our sales funnel, then we're out of business. So game over, not fun. Now, we have to do the math. And so going back to our favorite place, Google here, I want to show you something really, really cool. And that is, a long time ago, I heard Brian Tracy say something, and that was, Brian, you must never do anything below um, your hourly rate. So you want to calculate how much you're worth. Now, if you're not worth anything as you're going out of business, you got to do all this stuff yourself. But just about everybody who I work with and speak with is worth something because they're in business for themselves. And I will subtly point out that Brian Tracy's website looks quite a bit like mine. I did not design his website, and I was actually very pleased to see that Brian has taken himself up to the notch of being on Wally the Web Guy's par. But anyways, the good website, and so as you read through this, here's his example here. And basically, if you aspire to earn 50 grand a year, translates into about $25 an hour. So you must never do work that does not pay $25 an hour or more. What you do is you should hire people to do anything less than that. So if you can hire somebody for $5 or $6, mow your lawn, clean your house, do your SEO, right? Then you need to do that. So you actually want to create do a little math there and figure out what your top line earnings are. What does that translate into your hourly rate? And then probably maybe look at what do you want that to be as well, and then start to do some math there. And so that's a big mistake is people will do work that could be done a lot cheaper by someone else. And so don't undersell or underpay yourself. Now, that is really the key here. So if we do all these things, then you're in good shape. And so we started at the very beginning talking about budgets. And if you're bootstrapping and you're not really making sales, then all of this stuff is on you. But if you have a budget of a certain amount, then we actually have a program where we may be able to help you. And so let me show you a couple things here of how we work with folks who do have a budget. We work with people who actually it can be very modest. If you have a budget of 500 or more a month for a minimum of 6 months, we can help with SEO. And the first thing that we do is we review everything and give it a very in-depth audit. And I want to show you this first. It's getting harder to do the keyword research. In another one of these, I'll show you how to do this, but this is some comprehensive keyword research that we did very recently. And what we are looking for here is this is in the LED light distributor area. And so we were able to first start by going through this very comprehensive keyword research. Took a lot of time and effort, but now we know who to target in this environment. Then we're able to come back over here and these things don't happen overnight. So if you do decide that you want to work with us on one of these, you'll definitely want to take advantage of that and hop on it. And then you'll need to give us a little time to prepare this for you. But what we'll do is we'll actually go through a website audit for you. And you can see here, we talk about the sitemap XML. So there it is. It's looking good. No flash on the website. I didn't really mention that because it's becoming not as big of an issue, but you don't want flash on your website. This is not 1998. You probably didn't want it then, but you thought you did. Anyways, so on this one we found there's no robots text. You can optimize your titles further, your headings further. So now that we've gone through this training today, you're starting to see some of this stuff. And then just goes, in depth, like here's the stuff that we could fix for you, and looking at some real in-depth problems, right? So it kind of just goes through and checks this out. We look at your keyword density. We look at your Webmaster tools, your analytics. Just really start with all this basic stuff. And then I'm not going to go further into this because this is where it starts to get a little bit more complicated beyond what we're talking about today. But this provides a first look at where you are. And then we rank it. And so they're doing okay. They've got 86 out of 100. But you really want to get in the 90s, the high 90s to really start getting that that Google traffic. And so this was all about creating an endless flood of free Google traffic to your website and attracting your perfect customers in 20 minutes a day. So let me show you this one now. This is another website. See, again, different areas looked good, different areas did not look bad. Very similar rank. And so again, these guys, I think we were being generous in how we scored these. Honestly, I think we're grading on a curve. I would have given both of these a C, but we gave them an 87 out of 100. Now, there's another one, and this one just made me kind of sad. And we spoke with this lady real recently because she's awesome, but her thing is just like she's getting a 52 out of 100. And the reason it makes me so sad is that I know for a fact that she has probably worked harder on SEO than anyone else that we've done one of these for recently. And so her problem was a whole nother thing called a penguin penalty, or I think it was a penguin penalty. She was getting penalized, and she didn't look, on par with her competition, just all this other stuff. And so you don't want to be in the penalty box. But basically, if you have a budget of $500 or more, for a minimum of 6 months, we might be able to help. And so I'm going to show you right now how you can get a complimentary traffic audit worth $2,197. And so I'm just going to type this in here. Again, this is very, we are just kind of flying on the seat of our thing here. Can you see that? That's probably too big. Sorry about that. I'll bold that so you can see that. And so what you want to do is actually go up to your web browser. Here, let me show you that. It's wallythewebguy.com/SEO. And so I'm going to go there with you here, and I'm going to type it in. Wally the WALLYTHEWEBGUY.com/SEO. And where that's going to take you, it's actually going to pop you to a page called The Truth About SEO here. It'll take a second to load. Looks like a lot of people must be going there if it's taking a second. And you'll see the little picture of me up here, and it'll say fill out the form below and claim your free website traffic audit, including competitive keyword research valued at $2,197. And so just like I told you, we're going to go very deep and comprehensive. You don't have to take us up on the keyword research if you already have your keywords, but if it never hurts, right? So the form will just ask you to put in your name here, and so we'll put in the name, and then you put in your email address, okay, and then you put in your phone, and so don't all go calling this all at once. Put in your website URL. Oops. Put in your country, put in your state, and then you just keep on coming down here. So it'll take a few minutes to fill out. And so to get there, what you do, you go to wallythewebguy.com/SEO. And keep filling this out. We'll put this in here. Business address, I don't even know what to put in there because I don't know my address very well. List your products and services, so website traffic optimization. So please list your competitors, put in your keywords, put in all this good stuff. Now you'll come to this part. We talked about the budget part, so choose a budget that looks reasonable. None of this is an obligation or anything. This is just a second set of eyes for you guys to look at this stuff. Raise your hand, say, yes, I want more traffic. Wally, you might be able to help me. We don't really take everybody after they go through this. And so it's more like this tells us whether you're serious, tells us what you've done, tells us whether we can help you. A lot of people have this problem where they have done all this SEO work and now they're being penalized, or now they're not ranking like they used to anymore, and we can help them. A lot of people have the problem where they've never done SEO and they don't have the basics set up, and we can help them. But some people, they've digging themselves so deep into a hole that we can't help them. So it just really depends, and we want to look at we'd like to see what you're up to. So that's the link, wallywebguy.com/SEO. We're basically at the 45-minute mark here, and I thank you very much for being here on this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I had a good time. I hope you guys had a good time. I love showing you guys good stuff, and so I'll look forward to seeing you over at wallythewebguy.com/SEO. It looks just like this, and we will look forward to seeing you here again real soon. So go ahead and fill out that form, wallythewebguy.com/SEO. And if that's the right move for you, I look forward to seeing that come across. Otherwise, go ahead and put some of your strategies in place yourself. Let me know how it goes. Talk to you real soon.